Hi, everybody. It's James Clary, the restaurant guru, and I've got a great show for you today. My dear old friend, Francis Ogbolu. We worked together many, many years ago. He was a waiter, and I was a manager of a fine French restaurant in Tulsa. And I'll let Francis tell you the rest of the story. Here's the interview. Enjoy. I am so honored to have a special guest today. Francis Ogbolu is a doctor of urology practicing in Ohio. He attended the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine and did his residency at the Albert Einstein Medical Center. I believe that's in Philadelphia also. Francis is well loved by his patients, maintains a very successful practice. Dr. Ogbolu, welcome to the Restaurant Guru podcast, my friend.
Thank you. It's my honor.
I'm so glad to see you again. For the listeners that don't know, Francis and I worked together back in, what was it, like 1983 to
83 to 87.
Yeah, and then I moved back here in 88, and I guess you left the restaurant.
I left in 87.
87, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into all that, and you're now practicing medicine in Ohio. I think you've just got a great story, and a lot of it has to do with a restaurant that we both worked at, and so I think my listeners will really find your story fascinating, Francis. So I can't wait to dig into this. So you're originally from Nigeria.
Correct.
Yeah, tell me about life growing up in Nigeria.
I was the third of 5 kids, born initially to an upper middle class family. My father was an Air Force fighter pilot. My mom was a teacher. And my dad moved up through the ranks until there was a military takeover called a coup d'etat, which a lot of third world and developing countries used to go through this quite a bit.
When was that, Francis? What year? Do you remember?
Okay, they had a civil war from 67 to 70.
Yeah.
And then a coup d'etat happened shortly in the 70s, 75. And so we went from doing very well to not barely subsisting. My dad, wasn't making any income. He was wrongfully imprisoned. And my mom, with a meager salary of a teacher with 5 kids, it was pretty rough times.
They threw, I don't remember you, and I'm sure you've told me this before, but so that your dad was thrown in prison by this government, that these people that took over your government by force, and they threw him in prison because he was in the Air Force.
Correct.
So they saw him as like one of the enemy, I guess.
Yeah, he was on the wrong side. Usually when they plan a coup, they take out the people they believe to be a threat. So it was during the time of our hardships that I made friends with some Americans who lived in Nigeria and heard the American story, the American dream. And throughout high school, I just started daydreaming and desiring to come here for education. So I finished high school at age 16, worked around for about a year, then left at age 17 with $500 and a one-way ticket.
Oh, man, to America.
To America. And but the funny thing is that when you're that young, you really don't count the cost. Because I remember realizing that I couldn't call home because at that time there were no cell phones. It was difficult to make a call back home. And during the school breaks, holidays, I could not go anywhere. And I thought, what did I get into?
So tell me about, you were 17. What was it like coming to America? I mean, did you have just a visa to stay for a little while, or how did you do that?
I had a student visa, which allowed me to go to school. And then back then, the rules were a little lax, not compared to now. And then the school applied for me to get a work permit to work certain hours. That's how I was able to pay my way through school. And how we ended up working together. This is so funny. I was out of school actually for about a year because I had no money. And then I heard about this restaurant that was opening up called Poets. All right.
Yeah.
So I found out that the place to get the application was at a restaurant called La Cuisine on South Louis Avenue. So I went over there and I met a gentleman named Mr. Robert Merrifield. So I said I was looking for a job actually at La Cuisine. He said, well, there's a new restaurant opening up, Poets. So gave me a job there initially as a bar back because I was too young,
To
you know.
bartend, right? I was going to ask you where you started. I didn't realize you started at Poets. Just
I started at Poets.
to
Yeah.
clue our listeners and the people we work for owned two restaurants, La Cuisine and the Polo Grill, and they opened a third called Poets, which didn't last very long, I don't think. So go on.
So from Poets, eventually, La Cuisine was a dream place to work, and I wanted to go work there. Eventually, an opening came up, and so I was hired to work at La Cuisine as a waiter, and that my life was turned around practically from that experience.
What do let's dig into that a little deeper. What do you mean when you say your life was turned around by that experience? What did La Cuisine, this was on my list of questions. What did La Cuisine mean to you? What did it do for you? What did you learn? Just go into that a little bit.
All right. Besides providing me with a means of livelihood, the interactions I had with the people that work there, such as yourself, the owners of the place, but more so the clients. I saw very successful people who dined there, who talked to me like a regular person. Actually, made a lot of friends from that experience. And I was able to dream. I was able to believe that despite the odds that were against me, that I could fulfill my dream, which I'd wanted to be a physician from the age of 5. And so the can-do American spirit was born at La Cuisine Restaurant.
That is just such a powerful story, and I know what you mean about our clientele. I'm telling you, yeah, there's always a jerk in any crowd, right? But we had the nicest customers, and like you, I felt like they were my friends. They never looked down on us. We were the help. I was the floor manager guy, and you were a server, but I don't know. It was such a special restaurant anyway. I mean, it was absolutely wonderful. French bistro, beautiful blue willow, white pine. And, and here you got this beautiful man from Nigeria, and the accent, dude, did it for you. I'm telling you, you made twice the money of anybody else just because of that accent.
I
Well, I have to say, my friend, that you honestly, and I'm not going to blow smoke at you, but I worked with, I don't know, 100 servers between Polo Grill and La Cuisine, and probably 800 when I had Clary's for 17 years. You were maybe the best server I ever worked with. And this is why. You were never in a bad mood. You always had a great smile, a pleasant demeanor, a great sense of humor, infectious laugh. You knew how to quip. I love that word. You'd always have some little quip to make the guests laugh. And you were the most requested server at La Cuisine. I mean, you made the experience special, and gosh, what a dream employee. I didn't have to tell you what to do. You knew what to do. Tell me about waiting tables. Some people feel it's like subservient. I know how I feel about it. I mean, I love to make people happy. That's why I'm in this silly business. How do you feel about it?
Well, part of what made my waiting experience so pleasant had to also do with my culture. We enjoy entertaining people. The highest honor you can offer someone is to invite them over to your home, no matter how little or how glamorous, and you want to make them feel welcome. And so it was a privilege for me to do that night after night. And you find some people come in there who've had a rough day. Some people are just going through life, illnesses, family issues, monetary issues. It doesn't matter. You kind of cause a diversion from that, and you create an ambience that makes them forget about their troubles for a season, for a little bit, and then and making them want to come back. So it was something I treasured, and the more I met people and they will give me feedback, the more I wanted to make sure that each experience is special.
That's awesome. Let's dig into this culture thing a little bit because I have some relatives from Mexico, and I find the same thing there. And Italy. I was just there a couple of years ago for a few weeks. You know, entertainment, having somebody in your home in those cultures, and obviously in Nigeria also, it is a special thing, and you're treated like one of the family. I don't see that in America as much. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think because America is a melting pot, so you have people from everywhere and trying to blend in. So a lot of times people leave the little traits that make them so unique from wherever they came from. They try to downplay it so they can fit in. I think that's part of the problem here because within America are, as you mentioned, people from Africa, from Europe, from South America, from North America, other parts of the world who have this culture behind them. But when we come here, we're trying to survive. And
Yeah.
oftentimes, especially the second generation, they kind of start to lose touch with those nuances, those cultural mores that make them unique.
And you embrace your Nigerian background and culture. You know, I get that about. I mean, but you're 100% American. I don't want my listeners to think otherwise because you are. But you still have those roots, and it's in your heart, right? And those values you learned growing up.
Yes, and it's a mixture of both, and they're not diametrically opposed. Most people that know me know that I bleed red, white, and blue. My kids are grown now. When they were little, they used to get embarrassed because every time till today that I hear the Star Spangled Banner, whether it's in a movie, on TV, I welt. And the reason it's multiple fold. It's visceral for me because this is a place where my dream came true. It wasn't easy, but I was also fortunate. I had a lot of doors open, and I was able to walk through them. And so America presents a special place, and my culture too. We're very appreciative people, and we believe in building relationships and building bridges. So, and that's why it's great that after all these years that we have a relationship, and I dearly respect what you did at La Cuisine, and like I mentioned to you before, you're one of those people I believe had the it factor. So I'm not surprised that you've done as well as you have, and I believe that the best is yet to come.
You're very kind, and gosh, man, that was a moving statement about America. I think sometimes we, and I'll include myself in this, we kind of take it for granted. You know, it really is still the best country in the world to live in.
Yes, it is, and I know times are tough, and people try to be down on the country, but I will never bet against the United States of America. They are, we have an indomitable spirit. And if you think about it, when Francis Scott Key wrote that our flag was still there, we don't quit, we don't kowtow, we don't back down. We find a way. That's who we are.
You know, one of the things, and we've touched on it without even meaning to. I really wanted to talk to you about what it means to you to come from another country and to become an American. Like I said earlier, you are 100% American, my friend. I mean, I knew that when I first met you. You adopted our culture and you embraced it. What do you think about all the stuff in the news now about immigration and building the walls and all these things? What are your thoughts on that? And we don't have to get too political, but I'm just curious, as an immigrant, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think I have to address it from a totality. You have to pull back and look at America, from the beginning. We're a nation of immigrants, and we're a nation with a giving heart. The reason why my story is not unique. There are millions of people who've emigrated from other parts of the world who've done even better than I have. That's because of fellow Americans who've opened up their doors. The reason the world is better today is because of countless number of Americans who've given their money, who've given of their time, of their talents, of their giftings, of their know-how. So, having said that, I just think that, but also we're a nation of laws. America's done well because we have measures set in place. If you drive too fast, you get pulled over, you get a ticket. All right. And other parts of the world, you can bribe your way, you can bribe your way out, and the ticket is quelched. But most of the time in the U.S., if you get a ticket, you have to pay for it. So likewise, the immigration issue, because we can't just leave the borders open and anyone just come in anyhow. There needs to be a consensus on how to make sure there's legal immigration. And for those who find themselves here illegally, but who haven't committed any offense, who have worked, because to be honest with you, living in Ohio, where we have a big agricultural base, a lot of the farms here, it's migrant workers the jobs that most Americans wouldn't want to do. And migrant workers, they work hard. They give it 150% every time. And so there needs to be we need to find a middle ground to accommodate those, but then dissuade people from continuing to just come in against the law.
I think you're exactly right. I think your sentiments are shared by majority Americans. Speaking of that, I don't know if you remember this, Francis. We were at La Cuisine when Reagan signed the bill. That's, everyone, they don't know what an I-9 form is and how that came about. That was Reagan's answer to keeping new illegal immigrants out of the country by making you fill out the special form. But do you remember the day that went into law? And we had like 3 or 4 illegal immigrants. I don't think the owners knew they were illegal, because they had all the proper IDs and everything. But working in our kitchen, I'll never forget that day because they all hugged and we all cried because they were our friends, and they were the hardest working people in our restaurant.
I remember that vividly. I remember that because I counted myself lucky then that I was legal. That could have been me.
All right, let's move on from that. We don't want to get too political, but what I wanted to ask you what advice you would have if someone is a server now in a restaurant, whether it's fast food, fine dining, whatever. We were fortunate, I think, to work in an ultra fine dining place because it was really cool. But what advice would you give someone that's a server now about serving, or someone that wants to become a server?
Well, I believe that the hospitality industry is an amazing place. I believe you should go into it, have a fire in your belly, be the best server, the best cook, the best dishwasher, whatever it is. If you're the best and whatever your dreams are, doors will open up for you. My motto has always been, before I worked at La Cuisine, I was a security guard at one point. I was a dishwasher at one point. I would wash dishes. I'd wash anyone with dishes. Whatever I do, no one would outwork me. So if you have that can-do attitude, and be appreciative for what you have, be appreciative for where you are, while you set your eyes to where you're going. And as we all know, life is full of seasons. And just how winter just gave way to spring. So whether you're going through a hard time now, hunker down, and a new day is right around the horizon.
Boy, that's great advice, man. It's out, you said it, outwork everybody. I love that. And the whole minimum wage thing, you don't have to stay there. If you outwork everybody else, you're going to get promoted.
Yes.
Look where you did. You from washing dishes to waiting tables at probably the premier restaurant in Tulsa. You made bank at that restaurant, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
I know you did. Some of our old friends who used to sit at table 7, I know, took care of both you and me.
Yes.
I apologize to my listeners. This is an inside joke about some very dear customers who literally came in. They came in really almost
every night.
Every night. There was a table we did not seat. If somebody messed up like the new guy and seated table 7, oh Lord.
Oh my goodness.
And it was fun because this was an older couple. I don't need to name them. I'm afraid they're both passed now, but he was a very, very, very successful attorney in Tulsa. And They loved La Cuisine. They loved you. They loved me. I think I spoke to them many times after I left there, but they liked to sit at table 7 because it had a view of the whole restaurant. It was the corner table.
Let me tell you, that couple you're talking about bought me 3 Oxford suits when I was nothing, and I'll never forget that. And at that point, I didn't even realize what an Oxford suit.
Right. You
But
probably
yeah,
put it on backwards, brother. Yeah.
so yeah, that was really special.
I mean, how special is that, Francis, that we had people that cared enough about a waiter to go out and buy him nice clothes? They knew he was a student and working hard. You talk about that a little bit.
That is just that's what I was alluding to about the American spirit, where we we're hospitable people. So when you juxtapose that to the climate now, trying to deport everyone, that's not who we are. We're better than that. So here are these people. The only connection to me was La Cuisine restaurant, just that I waited on them. But they took me in. The first new car I ever had, another customer co-signed for me, and because I was going through having car issues, and so one day just said, okay, have you ever thought about buying a new car? I'm like, oh no, I can't. I can't afford it. I don't know how to go about it. He goes, well, why don't you meet me at so and so place on what day, and help me pick out a car, co-sign. So those were my experiences. I'm telling you, the hospitality industry, it's second to none. That those are my formative years in the U.S. and I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. And yes, we were the help, as you mentioned earlier, but those people were very appreciative, and those people they kept coming back because we provided something that was alluring, something that was desirable, and we did it with such aplomb, you know.
Yeah, we had an incredible team at that restaurant, bro. I mean, from Patrick and JJ and then all the bust and little Tan from
Right.
Vietnam, he was a kid that was just a whisker under 5 feet tall, and he could clear a
Yep.
six top with his hands
Yeah.
perfectly. I mean, we just had a great team, and everybody there, I think, genuinely enjoyed serving our guests. Sure, it was stressful at times, but I don't know. You're right. I mean, that restaurant prepared me to own my own place. I mean, what a greater gift is there than that? It taught me the business of business. But, it's the attitude, Francis, that I think both you and I share. It's about that giving, wanting to please and take care of people
Yeah.
attitude. So when you left La Cuisine in '87, you knew you wanted to be a doctor. Now I know you met a wonderful woman. Behind every great man is a great woman. You met a wonderful
Yeah.
woman in Tulsa, your wife. Tell
Yes.
me about that a little bit.
Yeah. My wife's name is Lori. I met her when I was still a nobody, waiting tables. Which every now and then she reminds me of that when she puts me in my place. Said, do you remember, how many pair of pants you owned when I met you?
You're right.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
the funny thing is that I look at some of my old pictures, how I looked, and I used to tell her, "Did you have cataracts when you met me?" Because if my daughter brought home a young man looking like I did, there's no way I'll let him in the house. But
Oh,
she's
you're a fine looking man. Get out of here. So you met Lori. You guys got married. When did you get married, by the way?
we got married in '87.
'87.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we've been blessed with 3 wonderful children: daughter Amber, 2 sons, Brandon and Cameron.
And they're very successful kids, by the way. I want to throw that in there. I mean, you had one kid went to Columbia, one to Wharton Business School. I mean, you man, it's crazy. It's so neat to see how your life has turned out, and you got
Well,
great kids.
thank you. They got their smarts from their mom.
Of course, yes, yes, always the diplomat. So, Lori, was she working while you went to medical school, right, in
Yeah.
Philadelphia?
Yeah. While I was in medical school, yeah, she worked. She was in corporate America and climbing the ladder. But then once I was done with my surgical training, and I went into private practice, opened up my practice. She helped run it. She was a better money manager than I am, and she kept an eye behind everything that was done in the practice. So she transitioned from working for someone else to working with, we worked together.
So she ran the business end of the practice.
She did, yeah.
Would you
So
think that's something that a lot of doctors, that they should prepare you for a little bit more in medical school?
that's something that's missing.
Yeah.
And, and one of the reasons there's been a paradigm shift in the practice of medicine in the U.S. over the last probably 12 years, where now majority of physicians work for hospitals or hospital corporations. And part of the reason is that in medical school and residency, they don't teach you about the business aspect of medicine. So you have all these young men and women who are fantastically trained, but lack the ability to manage their practice. And an old school guy, and also from my experiences, working at La Cuisine, just knowing how small businesses are run, that kind of planted the vision in me to work for myself. And so you eat what you kill, so it drives you to make sure that you're doing things right. So I just wish that they will change, because what's happened, as most physicians, I know it's not all, but as most physicians have become employed, is the incentive to produce is dropped. But when most physicians own their own practices, you know that if you don't work, if you don't go the extra mile or the extra 2 miles or whatever, there won't be food on the table. So we need to, have a good balance again.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Growing up as a doctor's son, and I saw my dad had a private practice, and he worked his tail off. But I wanted to ask you this. Do you feel your experiences being the hospitable person from Nigeria, but also your service experience at La Cuisine, has that helped you in as being a doctor?
Yes, most definitely, because yeah, I believe so, 100%. Being able to, because as a server, you have to have a knack for listening, being a good listener, and then also being able to improvise on the fly. Because there's sometimes where, especially those repeat customers, they have certain expectations, but that whatever they like, we may not have it. We may have run out of it, or the supply didn't come in, whatever. And you have to be nimble enough to suggest something else, but suggest it knowing what their taste is like. So in medicine, having a private practice, it's helped me to be able to tailor fit my practice to the patient's needs. You know.
You're in the service industry still.
Yes, yes.
I think,
Most
and I think not doctors so much, but even doctor staffs. I've had a lot of discussion. I have a lot of friends that are physicians, and I've discussed with them, what do you think about giving your staff service training, and in proper etiquette and decorum and how to be pleasant? Because, sometimes you can go to a doctor's office, the experience is not so pleasant sometimes.
I believe I let my staff know that they represent me, that everything they do, how they answer the phone, how they respond to that irate patient. Actually, we do mock drills of different scenarios. How would you respond to this? Just so, yeah. And, and I drill it down until we get it right. And then even sometimes you may have it all practiced down, but you always have a curveball thrown at you. Then you address it. And it's never wrong to go back and say, I'm sorry. To say, listen, I missed the mark. Please give me the opportunity to make it right.
Wow,
And
that's a refreshing refrain from a physician, I got to tell you, my friend.
thank you.
So tell me what's going on with you now in your life and your practice. You've got this practice in Ohio. I know you're doing well. The kids are just about out of the house, pretty much, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Our youngest graduates from college, in a little bit here. And so about once a year, I take a trip overseas. I've been doing it for a while. Take other physicians to go do offer medical care, surgical care to my people. And no matter how well you plan it, how much you put into it, it always seems like it's never enough. It's a drop in the bucket because the need is tremendous. So we've gone from trying to build a network, which we've been blessed, to now realizing that it's always good. Just how people give me a helping hand, it's good to give back. So that's been our focus now.
That is so cool. You take a team of physicians back to your home country, and you help people that don't have the money to get good medical services.
Correct.
I bet that's just incredibly rewarding. Can you talk about it? I mean, what are the kind of
Yeah.
things you see over there?
Oh, because I take all specialties. Being a surgeon, I take orthopedic surgery, neurosurgery, general surgery, ENT, GYN, and I'm a urologist. And we go there, believing we're going to help, which yes, we do. But actually, I get more out of them than they get out of me. It's very easy to get into a complaining mode. We complain about what's not right here, this and that, until you go to a place and see how people are content with little. I'll never forget a couple of years ago, we were there, and usually in the evenings when we're done, I always make sure we all back in the hotel safely, have our dinner, and then I'll just walk out amongst the people incognito, or try to be incognito. And so one such evening, I'd seen two guys who were selling little knickknacks, and both of them looked like they had polio, when they were younger. So, you know, some deformity. So I just was talking with them, just trying to find out how their day went. And it's a dead giveaway. Once I start speaking, they can tell I've been, to the streets. So, after we talked for a while, I asked them. I said, "Can you guys tell me your greatest need?" I was expecting them to say, "Well, I need money, I need shoes, I need this, I need that, I need that." No, they're like, "Nope." They said, "Our greatest need is to see the world become peaceful and people love each other again." I just, and
Wow.
I'm not like a bleeding heart. I choked up. I couldn't talk, because here there's two guys. They sit in 90-degree heat for like 14 to 16 hours every day. At the end of the day, they may make maybe 30 cents. All right. And what was the greatest need? They were not asking me to give them anything physical, anything tangible. So experiences like that, I'll never forget. And I'll share this with you. One time, we were there doing surgery over several days, and we're supposed to end on a Friday. On Thursday, they have like an electrician guy there that helps, because of the converter, voltage converter, who handles all that. He forgot to plug in the converter on my laser machine, so the laser was fried, right?
Oh,
And so, and I had all these patients because usually I bring them. My requirement is they have to be the poorest of the poor, and we transport them from the villages where they're from, sometimes 500 miles away. We bring them ahead of time. We house them, and beforehand identify what issues they have, and we pay for their medical and laboratory and radiologic studies beforehand. Then I'll divvy them to the different specialists going with me. So anyway, so these people, they've been there for over a week now, and I have to go tell them that, sorry, we're not going to be able to operate on you. So I told them to get them all together, and I'll talk to them. So they got them together, but word filtered out. And before I could speak, one of them said they wanted to talk. And in deference to my elders, which is my culture, so I said, sure. So she said that all her life she had heard about miracles. She had never seen one. And she never thought that in her lifetime she would witness miracles, but that she saw people that came with her, some of the neighbors she had, people with deformities in their legs, straightened out, goiters taken care of, hernias fixed. So she said, even if it doesn't get to her, if she doesn't get her issues taken care of, that she's satisfied with that. So I was touched. So trying to kind of lighten the atmosphere. So I just spoke. I said, listen, I'm sorry this has happened, guys, but if perchance any of you ever makes it to the U.S., look me up and I'll take care of you, right? Because I thought it would never happen.
Right.
So fast forward, 2 years later, I get a call from my staff told me that someone called from Chicago saying that they needed to talk to me about their relative that was supposed to have surgery in Nigeria, but it didn't happen. And no one else knew about this, but I kept a database. So I called the guy, gave me the man's name, and I looked it up. Sure enough, so he said, well, he's visiting, and you told him if he made it here, you'll take care of him. So,
Oh, man.
so I said, all right. I said, I'll get back with you. Of course, my part, the surgical end, is free, but it has to be done in a hospital. Yeah, the anesthesia cost, the hot OR cost. So I went to the administration and I told them, I said, I opened my mouth, and this is what's happened. To make the long story short, they said, go ahead and do it. So anesthesia service was free, hospital aspect was free, the laser company provided the laser fibers for free, and the gentleman had a very positive experience, and we put him up in a hotel, and he subsequently went home. So it all worked out.
Dude, that is amazing. That is amazing. That is the coolest story. And you told me this several years ago, and I'm really sad that we haven't stayed in touch. We lost touch with each other for a while. But now, does your organization have a name, Francis? I mean, can people help, or is this just something you kind of hatched in that crazy brain of yours?
Yeah, I have been, through the years, I've had some people, especially back in Nigeria when we go there, who've approached us to be a part of it, but I had resisted because usually politicians will do photo ops and that's it. So far, it's been coming pretty much out of my pocket and a couple of the guys that go with me. And I had not up till now, like, incorporated it or given it a name. We just, say, a band of physicians, we just decide, hey, we're going to do this. For those of us who believe in the Bible said, to whom much is given, much is required. So that's been the approach.
You just does my heart so good to see you, to talk to you. I think what you do is so admirable, and I know my listeners are going to this is going to be an amazing podcast. It's been an amazing interview, my friend, and I'm so glad that we got to spend some time together, and we'll do many more, for sure.
Thank you very much. It's my honor again.
All right, Francis, Dr. Francis Ogbolu of Ohio. We shall talk soon. See you later, my friend.
Thanks.
So there you have it, folks. Amazing interview of an amazing man. He really inspires me. Going back to Nigeria every year on his own dime, changing people's lives. That's what it's all about, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm James Clary, the Restaurant Guru. We'll see you next time.